I don't know about you guys, but I have made a lot of mistakes and I continue to make a lot of mistakes. But the good thing is, I learn from my own mistakes. I'm sure you do as well. So, in my opinion, second best way to learn is from my own mistakes, but the best way to learn is from somebody else's mistake, especially the costly one. So I want to share with you an innocent mistake that one of my tax clients made that ended up costing him several $100s by losing some of his business trip expense deductions. So for anonymity, I'm going to name him Dr. Premolar because he's a dentist. So Dr. Premolar just started his dental practice and he was learning various ways to maximize business tax write-offs. Smart man. So he told me that he has always wanted to vacation in Oahu, Hawaii, and he wanted to take his family there. And he found a dental conference to attend in Oahu. So he and I talked about potentially utilizing a tax planning strategy to convert as much of his personal vacation trip expenses as his business expenses. So we created his itinerary so that his primary purpose of the trip would be for business. Like, why does the primary purpose of the trip matter for deduction purposes? Because the transportation expenses, which include Uber rides and his airfare to and from, are either 100% write-off or 0% write-off. All depends on the primary purpose of the trip. So if the primary purpose of the trip is for business, the entire transportation expenses could be written off. On the contrary, if the primary purpose of the trip were for personal, none of the transportation expenses would be deductible. So next question you may ask is, well, how can you determine whether a trip is primarily for business or not? So in essence, you break the trip down into either business days and personal days. And I'll talk about what constitutes as a business day versus personal days in a little bit. Then you count the number of business days, and if that exceeds the personal days, then the trip is primarily for business. So with that in mind, let me share his itinerary that we came up with. So the dental conference was 4 days long, Monday through Thursday. So he was going to fly out the night before on Sunday, and then we'll attend the conference from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and he would hang out and spend time in Oahu with his family on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and he would fly out on Sunday evening after a little bit more sightseeing on Sunday daytime. So the trip was going to be 8 days long, Sunday through Sunday. So out of those 8 days, 6 days was going to be considered as business days, right? 2 days of travel to and from, as they count as business days, and 4 days of conference attendance. He was going to attend the whole day. And the 2 days of sightseeing on Friday and Saturday would have been considered as personal days because Dr. Premolar did not have any business activities on those days. So 6 business days and 2 personal days. So since the number of business days exceeded personal days, then entire transportation expenses would be written off as business expenses. But unfortunately, things changed. So let me share what actually happened to Dr. Premolar's itinerary. So first, there's 2 small changes that happened. The first one was that there's family emergency. So he could not fly out on Sunday. Instead, he had to file on Monday, the day after. So he started attending the conference from Tuesday through Thursday. So because of this schedule change, his business days actually dropped down to 4 days instead of 5 days. The second change was that because his family and he loved Waikiki so much that they decided to extend their stay by 4 days. So because of these changes, now personal days, which consists of 6 sightseeing days, exceeded the business days, which only included 5 days, 2 days of travel and 3 days of conference attendance. Because the number of personal days now exceeded the number of business days, the primary purpose of the trip inadvertently became personal. That means no transportation expense deductions. What a bummer, right? Had he extended his trip by only 2 days instead of 4, he would still been able to have more business days than personal days, which means he could have still deducted transportation expenses. So although Dr. Premolar lost all of his transportation expenses, there's still a silver lining to his story. There's another category of travel expenses, which is called survival and on-the-road expenses. Right? So they include hotel, meals, and parking and rental car expenses. Because these expenses are considered as necessary to survive and just being on the road. So fortunately, these expenses are still deductible on business days, not on personal days, even if the primary purpose of the trip were personal. So fortunately, Dr. Premolar did not lose all of his trip deductions because still able to write off the survival and on-the-road expenses incurred on those 5 business days. So bottom line is that I wanted to share with you Dr. Premolar's story to illustrate the importance of good and proper business trip planning, which will help you maximize your business trip expense deductions. Obviously, if you keep more of your money in your pocket and give less to the ankle sound, that's better. So that was Clinical Tax Pearl from today. And make sure when you plan a business trip, make sure that business days exceed personal days so you can write off 100% of transportation expenses. Hope this helped, and see you at next tax clinic.